What has happened, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Boom! We are back. We are back on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon, evening, wherever you are, maybe morning. I'm not sure kind of time zone we got going on here. We're all over the world. Hexagons, some say we're taking over. Some say I've heard that from time to time. Hexagons taking over the world. Welcome to the show. Got a fun one. Yeah, we're gonna see what kind of commentary, what kind of interesting things you pull from this show, but I think it'll be fun. Also got some new scripts we're going to talk about as well that we just added literally minutes ago, added to the repo. So y'all can check that out. I'll drop the link in the chat in a minute. But before we get into it, let me welcome back to the show Neil for T-Shares and Crypto Calm. How's it going, gentlemen?
What up?
Good to see you all again. I know I've had Kong on. We were talking about the simulations, the 10 million X's that we're all having.
Hey, I think 10 million X is FUD, man.
That is basically at this point. 100 million. That's what we're talking about now. I think let's make 100 million great again. How about that?
Right.
Lots of fun stuff going on. We have green days, we have red days, but yep. Let's start with Neil. Top of mind. What's going on? What's the field ecosystem? Has everyone left yet? What do you think?
I think the ecosystems is we're all kind of lurched, waiting on court date, waiting on an election. There's a lot of not just the PulseChain, but I would say the economy in general. Looking at the broad strokes, I think there's a lot of capital waiting to be deployed, waiting upon administration change because they didn't want to lose their money or anything like that. I feel like that's just the market in general, and then obviously crypto is going to play a big role in that. With all the ETFs and then the softening of and possibly getting rid of Gary Gensler, the SEC, that's going to bring a lot of positive impact to crypto. May get some clarity and regulation and a lot of innovation to move forward because we're lacking clarity, and that's why those Wells notices are being sent to all these companies who have been previously working just fine. It's just it's ridiculous. You can't run a business like that. So I'm expecting if we get an administration change, that we'll have a cycle will start to kick off, and I think moneypreneur will go burr because the Republicans like to spend money. That's just the way it is. So they'll spend money like drunken sailors. No offense to drunken sailors.
I think the proper term is drunken Michael sailors. Shout out to Michael Saylor, by the way. Keep pumping the bags of all the bags, and hopefully the entire crypto market will be several $1 trillion. Hex and PulseChain, hopefully we'll take a big cut of that. We're certainly looking forward to the glorious the glory days, the glorious days. Back in. Kong, what's going on for you, man? What have you been? What's interesting in the PulseChain right now? We're talking about PulseChain. Talking about PulseChain.
I mean, kind of just talking about PulseChain. I've been thinking about the RH case a little bit. I think it's coming up in less than 10 days now. So yeah, I'm kind of wondering how Richard feels, and I've been kind of thinking about this, like kind of just even in terms of the whole ecosystem and stuff. Like I'm kind of wondering like how he's doing, how he's feeling, and I wonder. I think he's excited. I wouldn't be surprised if he's excited for court. Like finally gets to hopefully try and get some of his points across, right? But I think it should be good. It's kind of reminding me of last year a little bit with PulseChain a little bit. We kind of had a little bit of a depression in October, November-ish, kind of December a little bit. I think we started to move up a tiny bit by December time, but into the new year, and I have no idea what's going to happen. But last year into the new year, it went quite well, and I think just in general now with with altcoins in general, things aren't doing too hot. I think it is technically Bitcoin season. And it's nice to see even PulseChain, it's up like maybe 50% off of its lows. Last time I checked, it was like 4.046. So yeah, not at the all-time lows anymore. I wonder what's going to happen with the PLS price going into the court date. But I think there's tons of RVSPs, right? So I think last time I checked, there was 240 or 250 people who on the PulseChain tour said that signed up for the RVSP. So I wonder I wonder if we're gonna stream it, because I think Nuclear Herb said I think they're still working out some details, but I think it should be interesting to see how price action kind of ends up after and during that hearing. But I think to be honest with you, I wonder how Richard's feeling, but I think he might be a little bit excited to kind of go up against Gary, the crooked SEC man. So
I think the corrupt SEC is what some is trying to popularize over time. We certainly hope they turn around and start, pumping our bags instead of the opposite of pumping our bags. That would be nice. Also, you mentioned the streaming around that time. I'll be streaming. I streamed a couple days ago and was talking about it to the 31st. I'm planning on getting the live reaction from New York, from people on the ground. I will not be there, but I know Nuclear Herbs, SJ, a lot of people from the tour, 200 or so people around there seem to have RSVP'd. Hopefully we get a big showing. Hopefully we get a lot of people flying in and stuff too, and having a great time at the tour and the hearing. But yeah, I'm planning on streaming right after it ends, the hearing and stuff ends, to get a reaction from people on the ground. Whoever wants to pop in and give an update. But I've talked to SJ, and hopefully Nuclear Herbs will also be available at least to discuss that. So that'll be fun. Do not miss that on the 31st. Hopefully I'll be able to get a live reaction from people on the ground in New York.
I think one thing I understand from what Nuclear Herbs is saying as well is, like, if anyone kind of international is watching and you're making it down to New York, I think one of the arguments for PulseChain not to be regulated by the SEC is like a jurisdiction argument. So saying, like, just because United States people happen to see like Richard on the internet doesn't mean that he was targeting United States citizens, right? So I wonder if we have like a little bit more like of a international, and I don't think it matters a whole lot, but it might, the judge might see that, like, and see that there's like a ton of people from possibly all across the world, and I think there's going to be a certain type of I think the PulseKins and Hexkins will hopefully, I think they'll show up looking tight, and I think it'll show the judge, because I think even Nuclear Herbs is saying, like, typically courtrooms are usually like kind of empty, especially on these crypto SEC hearings. Like, not a lot of people care. So if you start to see this like sudden turnout and you start to see a ton of people care, could actually like, is Richard really a scammer? Did he defraud all of these people who are here, like, presumably to support him, right? Not because they're hoping to like peel their money back or something like this. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Fox Modder, who's wearing a Gary Gensler costume here? Funny joke. However, I've heard it's best to look dapper and look like presentable and all that stuff in the real, at the site and all that. And
no Halloween costumes.
Yeah, it's yes, dapper's word. We'll certainly see. It'll be actually, yeah, this guy's got a suit on right here as well. Yeah, something more of those lines. It is Halloween, funny enough. But we'll see if we get some good news on Halloween. By the way, shout out to Airfriend Somi. These thumbnails, this is like the second one I posted that it's just like the first one I was like, who is your, I have to look, maybe I'll search for it later. Like, I was like, who is your crypto influencer? And it just had some like super funny face he was making on it, but he goes above and beyond to make that for infotainment. And we're glad to, at least I'll speak for myself at least. I'm glad to have him in the community, and he's, you don't have to agree with everything everyone says to appreciate that. Wow, I'm glad he's not pumping Solana's bags. I'm glad he's around PulseChain community. So can't make this up. Can't make those faces. It's so funny, so funny.
I saw a tweet earlier from Sami saying, I think it was like, I don't know exactly, I can't quite remember, but it was like, I've made 3.9k videos, and I'll make 3.9k more if it needs to be, like, until prices take off, or something like this. But I think like he's dedicated to his craft, so he's a good guy.
Yep. Let's hit up the downloadable data. Again, I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, the updates there. Got a couple new scripts in here. I think Kong, if you want to, if you're okay doing a demo or talking about it, whatever you want to do, but just just so we can get people, again, an idea of some of the stuff. There are plenty of disclaimers and stuff on it too, educational purposes, but I think this ties in pretty well with prices, the type of impact that different buys and stuff can have. And if nothing else, just interesting to see and think about when and if we do see some liquidity, some major liquidity coming in over time. Yeah, you wanna take a call and talk about it?
Yeah. I'll take it away here and share some of the scripts and stuff. So I'll pull up my screen.
If you have any questions, put them in the chat. We'll get to as many as we can. And yeah, we got a few things to cover. So yeah, just put your questions in the chat. We'll get to them as soon as we can.
So yeah, this is, and I would also like to cover the kind of the whole. Let me find that README again. Yeah, I'd like to cover just real quick. If you guys don't know, this is the downloadable data from RHMax. There's tons of good kind of like ways to like kind of scrape the APIs for the different data sources and pull them into, like, you can see like the different like text folders and stuff. So you can download quite a lot of interesting things, like there's get common holders and stuff, there's get token liquidity, there's volume. So if you need to, like, if you would like to document things in it, and you could probably run some automations as well. If you were to install or download the software and you wanted to, let's say, document the volume every single day for a particular token, you could probably run something like this, right? So it's a little bit more, like, you can think of it as it's a little bit more versatile, and there's probably multiple use cases. I don't think it's just one and done, for example. But we'll cover the updated, like the updated liquidity sim and the Heart's Law sim, because I think we got some community requests, or we got a community member who kind of saw in the Git notes that and I forget the name. Maybe Max, do you remember who that
Chuck,
was?
I think Mr. Chuck,
Mr. Chuck.
007, something like that. Yeah, shout out to Mr.
Yeah.
Chuck.
Yeah, and I think he was watching last stream as well. So yeah, shout out Mr. Chuck. But yeah, he had a great idea to sort of do like a Heart's Law, and also like I guess a X times Y equals K V2 style simulation. At least that's kind of how I kind of took the request. And I had some spreadsheets kind of prior, but they weren't anything like kind of dynamic like you would see in some of these scripts here. And I think Python is a lot better for kind of like data and doing like data science and like even like blockchain development a little bit. So kind of like what RHMax is doing with the downloadable data scripts. But anyways, like the Heart's Law sim, there's a good video if you look on the README. And this is the same one that would be on RHMax's Git. But yeah, there's good little video here if you want to like learn more into liquidity bonding and Heart's Law and sort of how the script is working. But it's just kind of to kind of do a quick explanation of how the Heart's Law sim is working. Is it's just taking the current price of any given pair, and it's a pair address, right? So any given pair address, and it's what it's doing is it's grabbing, like, let's say you have hex priced in wrap pulse, and the current ratio for that, I think last time I checked, is like 260. Might be a little bit off from that, but let's say it's like 260 WPLS per hex. What Heart's Law sim is basically going to say is, let's say that WPLS goes to the sack rate, what would the hex price be based off that current AMM ratio? And if you want to know why that sort of math kind of works out, you can watch the video in the README from SuperHex where Richard kind of explains Heart's Law. But yeah, if there's no, long story short, if there's no volume within a pair, the prices of like two volatile assets, or like kind of two crypto assets paired in an AMM, their charts will essentially match each other, right? And that's kind of the long story short. But we'll run a few simulations. I don't want to take up too much time and stuff, and you guys can play around and like type any, or like commit any requests or for any like kind of questions you guys have and stuff. But anyways, we'll do a quick simulation with PLS here. We'll do one with Hex real quick as well, like since I just have well, Python Liquidity Sim Hex. All right, might be running into some technical difficulties, but we should be able to get it to work. All right, there we go. You can see here's WPLS, and we'll go back to Hex in a minute. I don't know why. You know what's very weird, Max, is I think last time we were on stream, EHEX was being gatekept. Like for some reason, EHEX was just being like it wouldn't work on the scripts, and then this time around, it looks like Hex isn't like it's being gatekept. So it looks like the hexes are being gatekept again, but
not surprising. There's a history of keeping of the gates for that. Yes.
yeah. So who knows? And it's funny too because off stream, I was trying it again, and I was like, let me try EHEX, and it works. And I was just doing this last night, and I probably did 100, not 100, but probably like 10 or 15 different tests with Hex, and they all worked. So of course, when you're on stream or trying to like share it with the world, you have to, it's gonna gatekeep Hex. But here we'll say like $100 million market buy for PLS. And I think we kind of ran over this before, but it's a little bit different, and I've kind of updated it a little bit as well. But what it will do is it'll kind of give you a theoretical pool state before you buy. So this is like, and I think this is quite accurate to what you would see the total amount of WPLS like tokens across all pools on PLSX given by the DEX screener. So then you can see like here's the buy, $100 million worth, the amount of tokens you receive. So you're buying almost 2/3 of this pool. Like you're pretty much buying 2/3 of the PLS on the market. Your slippage, and then you can see your price impact. You would essentially pump the price just about a 20x off of $100 million. And I think last time we were on stream, I was basing these simulations off of one particular pair address. I will say the new V2 version of the script, and we can kind of take a look at it here. Yeah, version 2.0. Version 2.0 will kind of take a look at kind of an aggregated liquidity off of like a contract address, right? So across like multiple different pairs and stuff. So that's sort of what we're taking a look at. We'll do another example here, like $1 billion, because I think there's Runeskis. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but he posted a nice calculator, and I think it went around on Twitter and stuff, and it's quite similar to what I'm doing here. And I think it's quite funny because we were both working on like pretty much the same thing, kind of parallel at the same time. But I don't think he knew what I was working on, and I didn't know what he was working on, but it's kind of like simultaneously doing the same thing in a way. Our calculators are slightly different. I think his is a lot more in depth, and it's a lot more like accurate, so to speak, if you're looking at core RH tickers. This could be, but they're like, it's more generic, right? So it's meant so you could apply it to like maybe other things like on PulseChain, like other alts and stuff, like Tetra, for example, we could do as well, like just as an example. So and I don't know if the that website calculator does different tokens, and maybe it will eventually, but this is kind of the explainer of the Liquidity Sim Python script. Is kind of like what we're looking at. But we'll do $1 billion here, just kind of for the fun, for the moon math. And again, there's tons of warnings here. I don't know if we'll go over like all the warnings, but make sure you read the README and read all the warnings and disclaimers and like features and the actual market reality and everything. But yeah, just read the README if you want to go more in depth, and I'll cover it as well, so you guys can pause the screen if you want to take a look at it. Yeah, it's not a model, right? It's just kind of a calculator. So it's not for financial advice or anything like that. But we'll do $1 billion here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
$1 billion. What's it do?
It's 1260x, and then you can also see like your slippage is pretty bad. Like usually people
Only
put in-
97% slippage.
yeah. So
What
like sorry, go
can
ahead.
we, I was gonna say, can we do like just to give people comparison? So obviously, like you put $1 billion in at one time, it's going to give a huge slippage. Can you try just like $1 million, for example, just to show the difference
Yep.
between the slippage of the two?
Yep. Yeah, so here we'll do 1 million. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you can see the slippage here,
Yeah, not bad.
3%. So and that's very approximate. It might be somewhat accurate. Like if you were to go on something like Pitias and like check your slippage for $1 million, like that might be within reason, right? So you could actually, I mean, depending on like if you're doing like a $10 million clip or a $5 million clip, like you could probably calculate your slippage to a certain extent, right? And then I also like, depending on how in depth you want to go through, you could also modify this to look at like the exact pair, and you could calculate like slippage exactly, like to an extent, like minus fees and stuff. But like you could try and include that as well.
So this is probably the most. Would you say this is the most slippage you would probably get because you're not using like an aggregator. You're just kind of looking at. Are you looking at like one pool for this or?
So yeah, last time we were looking at just one pool. This time we're looking at the deck screeners given pools from their API, which is not all the pools, but it is a lot of them, like a lot of the large ones, but it's not all the pools.
Gotcha.
But yeah, there's things like DAI in there, there's Tether in there, there's USDC pairs in there, there's like EEX pairs in the liquidity that we're kind of like looking at and stuff. So yeah, like it's not.
Yeah, it's not even counting the Flux pools either, though.
And it's not
Flux
counting
does a lot.
the PHUX pools either.
Yeah, so all that stuff is, you got to think about that. Like Omnis will go through all those pools. So that's what it was doing. It'd probably give you a different slippage rate, but nobody's going to drop $100 million clips anyway. I mean, I just seems silly. Even Richard wouldn't do that. Even if you want to give away the money, it'd just be
Don't
smart.
tempt. Don't tempt him, Neil. Don't tempt him, Neil. I mean,
yeah, you don't want to tell him not to do it. He's gonna push the button.
Shout out to Richard
did, but
watching right now. Shout out to Richard. Before we go on to the Heart's Law simulator, any question on this, Neil, on the liquidity sim?
No, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It's nice to have something you can utilize just to kind of if you want to play around. The average person, though, who like us, wouldn't really affect us too bad because most of us aren't dropping anything, maybe a couple grand at most at one time. Even then, though, you gotta just watch yourself and where you're making your trades, because you gotta watch everything. You gotta look at all your fees you're paying, whether it's through aggregators or just going through just a simple DEX. You just gotta be careful because there's liquidity there. You never gotta look at the fine print. That's what I encourage people to do.
There's also and I'm not sure. I've just kind of showcasing it here. You could also do like sells and stuff on this. You could test it out. I think it had some. Yeah, but you can see the slippage as well. See like where is it? Yeah, the price impact minus 44%. So yeah, there's a few different metrics you can take a look at.
Can we see what happens if somebody tries to sell $1 billion worth of pulls?
You could try.
Does it support that? I'm curious.
Yeah, we can give it a shot. We can give it a shot.
Can we go to the highs and the lows here? Can we see the 97% slippage and then? Yeah, I actually want to see the slippage for selling that too. Yeah, it's gonna break it. I was like, I knew it. I was like, I don't know if he's tested the sales on this. Yeah,
you can see here, like it says minus 99.92% from the current price.
Those are rookie numbers. Those are rookie. We already went down 90-some%. Those are rookie numbers. You take that.
That's like
going.
7 zeros 4 or something like that. Maybe 8 zeros. So you can see your slippage would be quite horrendous. Like I don't think you'd be able to take $1 billion out.
So Wells out there, if you're thinking of selling $1 billion worth of pulse, there's a calculator. There's plenty of tools that are not giving any advice whatsoever, but there's interesting nuance to selling a lot as well as buying a lot. Yeah.
And then I'll also pull up we'll do a quick Heart's Law sim. So grab like Hex. to WPLS, for example, and it better not gatekeep hex, but I've got a good feeling. So go hex. And then also on the Heart's Law script, you will have to use a pair address, whereas on the Liquidity script, you will have to use a token address. So keep that in mind if you're wondering why like it might not be working for you. Just make sure you're using like the correct command essentially. So yeah, it looks like hex is working here. What's my experimental price for PLS? Let's say it is 5 cents, because I think if you 1000x it, it's around 5 cents. But we can do a few different like experimental prices just to kind of see, like we do like sack rate as well, for example. But yeah, for something like kind of extreme, you can see here, $12 for hex if PLS is at 5 cents based off the current ratio. You can see how many X's that is as well. Quite a lot, and that's kind of based off of Hart's law. So if the ratio, which is currently 251 WPLS per hex, so 250 pulse per hex, if that ratio changes, then this calculated price would change and the number of X's for hex would change, right? But if you assume no people trade in the pair and PLS goes to 5 cents, for example, and Hart's law kind of brings them together, like brings them up together equally, you could see like a $12 hex, for example. But we'll do one more quick Hart's law sim for like WPLS at the sack rate. So 3 zeros 1. You can see that puts hex at 2.5 cents, which wouldn't be not too bad at all, right? So about a 2x from here.
Is this EHEX or PX?
Sorry, not EHEX, PHEX.
PX,
Hex
okay.
on PulseChain. So
Okay.
yeah.
So if we get EHEX at 2.5 cents, it is currently not 2.5 cents. So yeah, I was gonna say it's probably more than 2x, but yeah, PX, that makes more sense.
And let's try out EHEX as well. I know that's the one we had some troubles on, but give it a shot here. Yeah. Finally, let's talk about EHEX. Here's our current price in WPLS. You can see 43. So it costs like you basically 44 pulse per EHEX. Now, if we were to say, well, let's PLS goes to stack rate, then you would see EHEX around, what is that, close like 40% of a penny. To me, that looks like 2 zeros 4. So
okay, yeah, so it's still 2x, but it's 2x from the. Okay, I see what it is now. Instead of getting it, it's not going to be around PX's price. It's just going to be calculated based on what it is today. Okay, sorry.
And
yeah, but that ratio is going to change in motion.
Yes.
Depends on how much PHEX and EHEX. So that they will track themselves simultaneously. That's a separate calculation you have to do simultaneously. I don't know how you would do that, writing a script to kind of catch a chain reaction. What happens when this goes up, then the other goes up too.
And that was another thing as well. There's kind of like, you can do like layers. You can kind of do layers to these simulations. So you could kind of like, if you were to build a model, for example, like let's say you had a community member who wanted to do something like that, like you could have like a layer 1, let's say, which would be your core tokens. And then you would have that kind of like that energy kind of like trickle down and down and down. There would also be like arbitrage events. Like I think there's kind of been the thought process of, like, if you injected $1 billion into PLS in one order, would you drag up the bridged Ethereum price, and then would you also drag up those bridged stablecoin prices, right, with that price of Pulse? And then does that just provide like a massive like arbitrage opportunity to like enrich all the bots on chain, right? And there'd probably be a ton of those if you start to see like these huge orders coming in. And then even with like the Hart's law and stuff, like, I mean, you can watch the video. Richard says like and it's true, like if 0 people trade in the pair, the price will stay the exact same, and that's kind of what we're looking at here. But typically you'll see volume through the different pairs, and you'll see the pooled amount of tokens changing, right? They're not just going to stay either like extremely thick to where they can't change, or like you'll see the amount of tokens changing, like the pooled tokens changing, and people trading in and out of them, which will change these like kind of calculated prices a little bit, right? Like if EHEX goes to 60 pulse, it could do more X's from here. But this kind of like a base range. Like I think what it's good to look at is like kind of generally like if assuming nothing outperforms the base layer one and assuming nothing underperforms the base layer one, like if everything's brought up together, what might the price of your token be given like the price of another token? And I think it's kind of cool, like and I'm not telling anyone like what tokens are good or not, but I think you could go into different pairs that are paired with PDI and say, well, you know, if PDI goes to $1, like what would this other token be worth? And that's extremely like theoretical. It probably wouldn't be kind of accurate, so to speak, and it shouldn't be like a financial advice, but it kind of shows the point of Hart's law, and I think that's all. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, the way Hart's law works and across all the pairs. I mean, even the lowest liquidity, just terrible meme coins be pulled up, you know, just in value alone, just because they're paired with Pulse. So I think the bots would have a heyday going back and forth, extracting value from the system, just because it can. And that's what you would see, just a cascading effect of people writing scripts and bots, and having tetra automations, whatever, just trying to extract the value they can from their pairs that they're in.
Just want to pull up you got a lot of great important notes, some of which we covered too, yeah, and what Neil was talking about as well with the bots and MEV and different prices and buy and burns, and I think the ratio is changing. That'll be interesting. I mean, if we starting to see any kind of huge as in millions, huge as in otherwise too, but any kind of big things, the arbitrage opportunities, whether the users are getting them or bots are getting them, that could be interesting. That could shake things up. It could be some very interesting chaos. If we do see some consistent like big events happening like that. So make sure you get up using simulators. You're interested in using them. You can go on the repo, check them out, download them, look at all the different pieces. Kongs did a great job putting the picture in, talking about what they do, what they don't do, and the different factors that you never know if the tools ever get updated or people want to contribute more scripts or otherwise to the repo. Could get some other interesting simulations as well. So anything else you want to show on the simulations, Colin? Oh, you're on mute.
I'll show one last thing, and I think we'll wrap it up with that. Unless maybe if we have time at the end and the stream has some suggestions, then I don't mind pulling it up. But we could move on to some other topics and stuff. But I think people, they always talk about with EEX and stuff how it's lower liquidity, right? And it's true. Like we were looking at PLS and we were looking at 57 million versus the total liquidity for EEX on PulseChain, just based off the given pairs on the DEX Screener API, is sub 3 million. So this is like $2.79 million of liquidity, right? You could see like this would be your theoretical USD in the pool, your amount of pooled hex. So there's not even a billion pooled hex here, right? There's like 683 million pooled EEX on PulseChain, right? Just on PulseChain, not including Ethereum. But anyways, if you were to do a $10 million buy, you could see you would actually pretty much buy out almost the entire pool. So from 683 million tokens, you would have bought out maybe like 600 million, for example, and you would have moved that price up to about 13 cents. So it does. I think what I'm trying to say is that like it doesn't actually take much to move EEX. I don't know if it's dead or not. I think it recovered at least slightly recovered its PulseChain sort of the market decided tweet versus PulseChain, like on the chart. So yeah, I don't know if EEX is dead or not.
I don't think that, or I've been seeing some. What was it? Some tweets. I forgot. We talked about the other day, or saw it. Anyways, there's been some interesting posts on X around the lack of for sale hex, and especially I think maybe they covered EEX as well. So that's wow. If you bought all the hex, all the EEX, it did. What is that? how much X? What does it say?
Yeah,
there?
66x there.
66. Yeah, up to 13. Wow, that would be.
Yeah,
What if all the
6,500%.
EEX just were gone from the market? That would be. Never know. Never know. That would be interesting to see.
Yeah, and yeah, about like $10 million would pretty much buy you 90% of the EEX on PulseChain, right? So, and that's, take that with a grain of salt. Like, it's probably a bit more nuanced than that. Like, you probably wouldn't use a $10 million order at once, even if you wanted to buy all the hex on PulseChain, or the Ethereum hex on PulseChain. But yeah, it kind of just kind of goes to show that relativity between like the liquidity on things like PLS and PHEX and those like more liquid pairs versus like something like EHEX, where it doesn't take a whole lot, doesn't take a whole lot to move the price, right? So yeah, that's sort of like the whole like simulation stuff. So
Shout out to Godbow. Anytime I like to start buying tons and tons of hex again, that'd be nice. That'd be nice to see. Godbow, anyone else has millions of dollars and active part of the community making some good stuff happening. Shifting gears though, macros, something that I've been, kind of micro macros in a way, PulseChain at least. I've been seeing, I think Somi was talking about the other day, brought up something interesting around what if I see what you all think about it as well. The idea that what if PulseChain pumps last, for example, 2025, if we get if the 4-year cycle and bull run and all that stuff, and we have those few months of upward price action, the idea that strategically PulseChain could pump last, so the money made, because let's say everyone's broke right now, type of thing. No one's made a ton of money in crypto for a while. Generally speaking, there's plenty of people making money farming and liquidity and all these other games too, I'm sure. But as far as like the price appreciation, there's been some here and there. But if everything goes up a lot, and then that money, the idea that money coming into the thing that they see that's about to pump, for example, if they get signs that whales start buying it with ETH and all these other things, that kind of, do you think there's anything to that being, if we look back, if that happens, glory, all that stuff, amazing things, fireworks, and we look back and see, will it be obvious that it's like, oh, well, that's a key part of the story, that a lot of the money we had to make everyone else really rich, so they chase the next big thing before the end of the season. Anyways, what are your all thoughts on that? Is that something that's y'all thought about any?
I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility if we are one of the later ones with the liquidity infusion. But it still takes a spark to start that process, right? So maybe either RH or somebody would have to kind of start the snowball rolling to get the green candles, to get people to start moving their money from wherever they are to PulseChain. I don't see that being out of the realm of possibility, but it's still kind of a crapshoot right now, just because of the amount of liquidity we have and the amount of volume. And we live and die by volume as a chain, and this is where we're at right now. We need volume, we need people trading, we need to bring reasons for people to trade, and we have some great stuff on this chain, great products. And our APYs are better than most anything else out there. Period. I mean, I looked at the numbers. I mean, you go to DeFi Llama, check the yields. I think just PulseX alone in its just farms outpays most anything else out there, any other chain. So it's just we are a gem, and people just don't realize we're here.
I think as well, with Hex and PulseChain, it could definitely be a possibility. Like, it seems like even with, I don't know if very many tokens have been kind of performing to the extent that people are thinking the entire crypto market's performing at. Like, you have things like Bitcoin. I don't even think Ethereum I think it got close to making new all-time highs, or maybe touched it, but I don't know if it went on to make new all-time highs, right? To the same extent that Bitcoin did. Same with a lot of the other, like, I want to say majority of the crypto market even hasn't made new all-time highs, and you have like the special tokens per se, right? That have actually that are sitting at new highs or near new highs right now. So I think like if we see a bull market, there's definitely a good chance that there's definitely a good I think it's there's definitely a possibility or a good probability that PulseChain isn't like the first mover, and that a lot of that liquidity that comes into PulseChain comes from a lot of these other tokens, kind of like what Neil was saying, like coming from all the other tokens doing well as well. So yeah, I don't think anybody knows what's gonna happen, but I think even with Hex, like it did 50x after Bitcoin topped, right? So, and that was technically, I mean, you could say that's going into the bear market, right? After the Bitcoin top. And that's when Hex did its like a 50x. And I think lots of us, like if PLS did a 50x from here, I don't think a lot of us would be complaining. Maybe there you'd have some people, but I think that'd be great performance, right? So we'll have to see what happens. I think the greater crypto market's probably gonna have to take off as well. I think I was saying it earlier in the stream. I think altcoins are depressed right now, and it is Bitcoin season. So I'd like to see another altcoin season come around.
It'd be interesting to see if there was, for example, over time, 50x, some coming months or 2025, we see the market taking off. PulseChain starts doing X's, things like that. If we saw that, and then without maybe much of the whales doing stuff or otherwise, and then okay, everyone's got plenty of money, everyone's buying NFTs or like new hot things that are like that could be deemed like super risky at the time that are just coming out, and then you can see, oh, what if Richard starts streaming again, and he's like, all right, here's all the reasons you can see on chain, all these interesting things that are happening, and obviously like I never give anyone a bad deal type of thing, and we get back to that kind of swagger, with or without him coming back on stream and doing that stuff. I think it'll be interesting to see like what people do when they see a chain that has this, if they believe it's super primed, and they start people aren't so depressed about the prices, and they start believing something, right? Somebody says a lot too, the whole like perhaps the theme of this cycle, and they start seeing, oh wow, okay, I made a bunch of money here, just like what happened with the sacrifice funds and stuff too. People made a lot of money. You got time to wait. Everything is good, and then you see how much money went in sacrifice and stuff in those phases too. So I think that would be cool to see if we saw at some point, like Neil was talking about too, the fuse getting lit, or we get some green lights here and there, start seeing some appreciation in the ecosystem, and then maybe when people have a lot more money and they want to double down again, or try out PulseChain if they're new to it, even hopefully we're able to attract on board a lot of new people in the cycle as well. Then what happens when you have actual, like a lot of the retail demand, a lot of the money coming in, a lot of the gains they're getting rolled into, hopefully they get rolled into PulseChain, and that snowballs. What's the word for snowballing upwards? Snow mountaining. I don't know, whatever that is. Yeah. That would be pretty cool to see. So,
well, another thing we got to remember too is in the DeFi tools we have on chain now. Think about the yield you're getting. Imagine that yield going up 10, 20x in dollar value. Same number of tokens, we get more X's, more value, dollar values. What are you going to do with that money? Right? You're going to compound it. You're going to grow your bags. You can buy other assets. You can buy and stake Hex. What are you going to do? And that's something that's going to happen as a result of price appreciation over time. So people got to think about that. Like, well, where do they need to do with their money now? If you're sitting idle and just sitting on tokens in your wallet, you're not making any money. You need to put your money to work now, earning yield somewhere on chain, so you can be prepared when the prices do appreciate.
That's all. Came across this. PulseChain mentioned in the was it CoinRec Fashions or something like that? But it wasn't a negative one. It was kind of neutral, at least for now. In 2020, I kept working during the pandemic. I received the $1,200 that the U.S. government was handing out. I didn't know what to do with it. Threw into SHIB. A year later, SHIB ran up, cashed out $25K, took that $25K, put it in sacrifice for a new token called PulseChain. I received a lot of coins for it, and still haven't touched it. I hope I made the right decision. I want my life to change for the better. Assuming this is real, that is actually an interesting story, and I like how the whole narrative isn't like, oh, I'm down so much and I got out as soon as I can. I rolled into something else. I wonder how many people, maybe I get your all's take on it as well. How many people haven't like, have you heard of people that you've onboarded or otherwise that are kind of just curious, but they're not watching the charts every day. They're not just like, upset that it hasn't ran up yet. They're not, whatever. They don't really watch. They never even watch Richard streams that much. They're just kind of like, yeah, I sacrificed it, and I know I got to wait a while, and the market hasn't did the bull run yet, so it's just like hanging on. Yeah, what do you think about
that? I think for me, it's kind of a little bit of both. There is some smart money that, like, if prices are down and stuff, like, they still want to DCA and buy, right? And I don't think that's like, I don't think your average kind of retail kind of typical investor wants to do that. Like, it's more fun to chase green candles rather than buy the deep depression of PulseChain, right? And have that opportunity potentially to make that life-changing gains. Like, it's easier to like go gamble on the meme platform or do whatever, right? So yeah, there is some smart money that, like, they're kind of paying attention, they're kind of not really paying attention. They can kind of see, like, if things are doing good, you kind of get that sort of sense for, like, kind of see that if things are doing not so hot, like, they're looking to buy as well. But there is that other group who I don't know. I think the more you watch Richard streams, especially if you're not as big into the ecosystem, like, if you're not really, like, smart money, if you're not an investor per se, I think the more you watch Richard streams, the more you'll become more in tune with his tickers and his ecosystem, right? Because I think it comes with a lot more nuance than what is like maybe on, like, a white paper, or what, like, this is on, like, a Twitter account or something like this. So yeah,
I'm coining it now. Ethosystem. Yeah, the ethosystem. True DeFi. Yeah, not just because Neil's got it. True DeFi in the generic sense, and also, yeah, there's a project called True DeFi as well. Yeah, but yeah, ethosystem. We do have a some people call it a cult. I'd say, what's the difference in being passionate about something and not giving up easily? I'm sure there's a big difference. And I guess one's more healthy than the other. At what time frame? Blah 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 as well. But yeah, I think a lot of people in the ecosystem, some are passive, some are active, some are in it for the values, some are in it for the mad gain, some are in it for both. Everyone kind of has their own way to hopefully be very successful this bull run in it as well.
I think another point is with this, I don't know if this makes a lot of, like, I don't know if this would even be a wrecked fashion. Like, if you really lived I don't know, because if you sold Doge anywhere near the top and you got into the PulseChain sacrifice, like, PulseChain was down even as of a couple weeks ago, you had 60% of your value, at least 50% of your value. Today it's like maybe 48% of the value you put in, and I think that's if you got, like, kind of like the base sack rate, right? So Doge fell a lot, right? So you might have actually stored more value in PLS perhaps than, depending on what price you got out of Doge, than holding Doge, right? Because Doge isn't, at least last time I checked, Doge isn't at all-time highs. So yeah, perhaps that one actually fell more than sacrificing for PulseChain, and it could have been, who knows, maybe you stored more value doing the PLS sacrifice. I don't know. So
when I think of Doge these days, I think of Department of Governmental Efficiency. What Elon said that he's gonna head up if he takes a government job.
I think he's serious about it too. So
that would be, I don't know. I'm an Elon fan, so if he takes a interesting position of power, I think a lot of his ideals are pretty interesting. A lot of his tech is pretty good too. So that could be
the salsa dance more efficiency. Robots.
Man, robo-taxis, you got the robots, besides all the stuff he's already did with Tesla, it being an okay car. A lot of people are just kind of it's like everyone owns a Tesla. They kind of like their Teslas. No, if you probably really like it if you have one. What else? I was scrolling through for a second.
This guy's got a free ride. He got $1,200 for free, turned to $25, put in a sacrifice. He could took that SAC money and took all those tokens, stuck them in PulseX Farms, making almost 20 grand a year in ink. I mean, he's way up if he use DeFi properly. So this is what I understand about these guys. People talking about the pricing and stuff. Well, I have all this token to sacrifice. Well, look, man, use the tools to make some more money. Don't just sit here. I mean, spend a year. You could have made your SAC back in just an ink alone, or sit on the ink and wait for it to appreciate. You know, I mean, some of the stuff may make any sense. I don't know why people don't use the tools that are available that Richard's built and others.
The ink bank is open. You're able to earn from providing liquidity and farming. Impermanent loss there is kind of like up and down percentages of that too. I mean, you can just do Pulse and PulseX. You can do stables, ETH, everything else. I got a ton of videos. Anyone wants some education on that as well. But yeah, we got some DeFi products for sure. Let me hit up. I want to go to, let's maybe wrap up on a couple things, but I wanted to talk about, let's hit 30 days, just see, wow, we kind of came down a little bit from there to, I was like, I wanted to see hundreds of percent for 30 days, but we went down a little bit. Let's see 90, any better? Hex, I'll say 91%, but everything else, we did a decent run up, especially Hex. Kind of came down a little bit now. What do you, so let's say next few months or however, core coins start getting X's. We start getting, a few X and then 10X, and then it starts getting pretty interesting from there. What are the tools? I mean, what are top of mind for y'all? I guess, what is the game plan? Maybe a lot of people out there probably thinking, hey, if I do get some X's from the core coins, I don't know, maybe they want to buy some other coins with it and try to get more gains, or they want to stick it in DeFi protocols and earn from there and just hang on to it. You got the loan protocols, you got doing different limit orders to pick up deals and stuff like that as well. What are some things that once both of you start seeing the X's accumulate, if you will, what's the plan? What are some of the tools on PulseChain that people can use to help them?
I think the farms will be big. Maybe Neil might have some more, like he might know more about some of the tools on PulseChain and stuff. So
yeah, well, I mean, you get the farms. That's one thing. The PulseX Farms. Then you have the 2Fux has a great LP vision. If you want to diversify your portfolio and get into different pools to earn Fux and 2Fux tokens, and then the bribery and all that stuff too, and vote. Those are options that will be available. Then you'll have the lending protocols if you want to use your core assets to borrow against them and use those stable coins for something else, or to put in those systems to earn yield. Those are options available. You have the lending protocols with like fiat, fame, and stuff like that. You use your assets and earn yield that way. And then we're coming up with protocol True DeFi to allow you to double your tokens and not to buy anything. You just stick in the protocol and they'll double through our DeFi system. So we both be Pulse, PulseX, Inc., and stuff like that. So we're working. There's other tools that I'm sure are coming out right now that people are building. I think Red Squirrel and them have got their stuff at Trinity. With the arbitrage opportunities, there's those. Let's see who else has got. I guess maybe like Win-Win or some of those guys, if they can fit. Once Signal Oracle's out, these guys have access to tools to get their stuff up. I know Jacob with PulsePot and all those things. He's working on things. He's waiting for the RNG to be done with Signum so he can use his tools. So there'll be a myriad of options people can park their assets and earn money. It depends on how much risk you want to put out and how much impermanent loss you're willing to accept within whatever system is out there.
Do y'all think that the core coin, people are going to sell the core coins too early? A lot of them may be parked in DeFi protocols right now. People be waiting. If the exits start coming, can you see a scenario where, Hex does, a 5 or 10x, and maybe people take profit or otherwise, but then there's $12 from the simulator we saw earlier as well, and like the monster gains that a lot of people are hoping we'll see this cycle start coming in. Do you think the core coins have been just so, because we haven't seen, we've got some pumps here and there for the last year or so, but you think they're underrated in a lot of ways just because of new stuff coming out, and there's making the other X's on newer projects and stuff like that. a lot of different people try to do as well. What is the case for the core coins? People missing out on mad gains by either selling too early or not kind of keeping them in the DeFi ecosystem to get yield and stuff from.
I think PLS is extremely undervalued, and you can look at a ton of charts, even against the core coins themselves. I think PulseChain's undervalued, and I think also to what you're saying, will people sell too early, or will people when might people sell? And I think ideally Richard. I'm saying Richard, but it really could be anybody, right? I'm saying Richard, but I think ideally there is kind of like a strategy. I think you want to. I think there will be some sort of narrative that comes up that gets people kind of back into the into the 10,000x rhythm, whether it happens or not. I think there will be something that pops up that gives people like a shred of hope, and I think that will be. I think there will be some sort of catalyst to kind of push the prices that not only a catalyst to push the price, but kind of a catalyst to help people like kind of hodl a little bit, right? And I think you will have sellers, but I think Richard has a plan, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know what any of the catalysts are going to be, but I think if you play it correctly, you can get rid of weak hands, and you can still have like a kind of like a organic kind of inflow of people, and have that like price appreciation as well. So we'll see what happens. I think what might like kickstart everything is like maybe some SAC funds, and I have no idea, but I think that could be like it could be a Kickstarter, right? Get people kind of get their eyes onto the ecosystem. But I think there will be a new narrative that pops up to make people kind of like with the sacrifices, or how people held their hex because they wanted to do the snapshot, right? I don't know what that narrative is going to be to get people to hold their tokens, but we will see. We will see. So
Do y'all think that the selling will go from like into ETH or stable coins and stuff? If we do see selling when the prices start going up with the core coins, or do you think a lot of it will go to just like going outside the ecosystem, or will it go into there's going to be plenty of we can see plenty of good ecosystem projects and stuff as well. Will it go into the other projects on PulseChain and stay within the ecosystem when and if we start seeing lots of X's happening? What do y'all think will happen?
Well, the percentage of the sacrificers who are angry or disgruntled will have to get out first. Some of the bigger holders, maybe the Rack and Rochelle guys, that bunch, that buying group and stuff, they'll have to get out. If they get 2 or 3x, they'll just be glad to get their money and leave. Those type of guys aren't really here for the long term. It's the people who really want to see that the price appreciation will be encouraged to stay. So you give a reason to stay. If Pulse goes up to a 5 or 10x, what is Inc going to do, right? So how much Inc you earning now? How much is that in your yield, right? Or how much your two folks you're going to be, right? Or if you can double your tokens, why not just double them? Whatever your case may be, why would you want to leave if you can make more money? It's kind of premature. Now, some people will. They need to take profit. I understand that. But those who have a little bit of wisdom will think long term, and they'll should think about stacking their tokens and putting their place and stuff, your money to work for them. And that's how finance is. That's how all the traditional finance works. You don't just take your money and get out immediately. You let it work for you. You find a place for it to grow, and you live off the yield. That's how you make this crypto sustainable. And you can put it in places. Now, there's a time to take profit, and time to take and maybe go from volatile assets to stable assets at a certain time. At tops, when you have max saturation and stuff like that, that's understandable. But then you can still use the DeFi tools and take your stables and earn money on your stable yield. So these are all options that are available, and you can also the money can stay in chain, increase the total value and volume of the chain.
You guys on CryptoCom?
yeah, I think people say like money will go where it's treated best. I've no idea. I think PulseChain it's still new, and I think it's competitive, right? I don't think if I think could I also pull up my stream or sorry my screen very quickly as well. But yeah, here is just quickly as well, like token rankings, or here's DEX rankings, I guess you could say. But PLSX number 9. I don't know how many people are actually aware that PLSX is in the top 10. Right now, it's number 9 in the entire crypto space based off of TVL, right? So, and you can see like Orca, this came out in 2021. PLSX came out 2023. So it's had like Orca's had all this time. It has Solana at all-time highs. It has pretty much the best sort of circumstances, and you can see like PulseChain's it's very close to flipping Orca. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it happens sooner rather than later, right? See like I think here's Justin Sun stacks and stuff, but I personally think, and I kind of speculate that this will be in the top 5 or in the top 3 at the very like top 3 to top 5 at the very least. Um, I have no idea when, but I think the chain is gonna have to. It's still gonna have to do a little bit of maturing. Like I wonder where Orca was in terms of TVL, and I wonder if it'll show me this like a year after it came out. You can see here like April. Either way, you can see like this had like $48 million here, like when PLSX was coming out. So like years later, and this thing like it hasn't even recovered back from like it's 2021. I like how they have FTX collapse drawn on the chart here. That's kind of funny. Yeah. Anyways, I think.
But where did that money go, though? I mean, that's my question. The money just doesn't disappear in thin air. I mean,
Right.
Somebody's extracting that money from that system. Is it the developers? Is it the people? Was it a pump and dump? I don't know. I don't know the history. I haven't looked into it.
It's probably just I have no idea, to be honest with you, but it's probably just like not as good as any of like as some of the competitors and stuff. And I think it's a different type of DEX. Maybe I'm thinking of something else on Solana, but either way, I think PulseChain, like you can see where it came out here, like basically half a $500 million in TVL, had a little bit of like a dip down, but in terms of recently, like you can see we're actually doing quite well. Like even when we made new lows on the PLS price, like TVL has still been increasing, like in this uptrend, right? So this is kind of what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the liquidity on GoPulse, and I'm looking at like the TVL on chain. I think there's a ton of TVL, like kind of locked in validators on PulseChain, locked in like liquid loans on PulseChain, locked like just on chain in general, right? And I think I posted some like stats about that on my Twitter and stuff. But yeah, I think I think you're gonna see PulseX having $1 billion in TVL one day, and I think it's gonna have a few $1 billion. I have no idea to say for certain, but I wouldn't be surprised if you get like just a measly $1 billion in PulseX. And I mean you can see, right? Like, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, if we get $1 billion PulseX, like, any speculation on what the prices of the assets will be? Is that like a 10 or 100x for PulseX? Like, what would $1 billion TVL? How would you reason about that as far as like the price appreciation for the core tokens, at least? I know there'll probably be a lot of other tokens that are included in that TVL as well, but is that good for? Of course, we know the buy and burn stuff at PulseX too, but yeah, anything on that?
It could be a lot. I think it'd be hard to like kind of off the top of my head kind of reason with it on stream, but it could be like if this does like let's say it does a 2x, you could see PulseChain doing a lot more than a 2x type of thing, right? Because like if you're just looking at like the PulseX TVL, and even if you're looking at just like the pairs and stuff, right? Like if we're taking like the base, like if we're saying this is our baseline liquidity, and we start to have massive pumps from here, and people like even if they aren't like adding or removing liquidity like crazy, You could see it being somewhat correlated, like with price percent gains and movements in that sense. But I don't think it takes very much to move this quite significantly, like quite significantly, right? Especially PulseChain's quite depressed right now. Like even here when it was at 500,000, like PulseChain was only like 2x its SAC price, right? So like what if we go 10x the SAC price? Are we at $3 billion at that point? We could be, right? And it might actually have to be that way if PulseChain does that many X's, because you might have to see that value. That value must have flowed in to somewhere, like to be like in the liquidity pools, right? So yeah, we'll see what happens, but I think like PulseX is extremely competitive, right? Like it's only been out for what is it? Maybe 14 months now. I don't honestly know
So like
I
a year and
think
a
it
half.
was like a year and a half. So yeah, like kind of off by a lot there, but yeah, either way, like a lot of these they are old X's, right? And where is here is Sushi Swap here. I forget how old Sushi Swap is, but it's on a ton of chains, and you can see PulseX actually beating out Sushi, and a ton of people know about this one as well. See, it's actually lost a ton of its TVL, but this one had 8 billion, right? So if like who knows what will happen, right? This one came out in 2020, right? And it's already like PLSX has already surpassed it, right? And I don't know if this one's gonna go on and make new all-time highs. Like I don't know if this Sushi Swap is gonna go on and make new all-time highs with TVL, but I think PLSX looks like it's in a nice, like healthy kind of uptrend. So, and if it continues this sort of rate, like it's gonna pass. Yeah, it's gonna pass Orca pretty soon. So
Sure.
yeah, and go ahead.
No, go ahead. I got one more question, and we'll wrap up here in a minute. But we can hit on Hex or prices.
Yep. And yeah, I think I don't know. I was talking to RHMax, and I can't remember the website name for some reason, but I haven't been looking at like coin ranking lists as much recently, right? And I think there isn't like it's not obvious anymore. Like Coin Market Cap obviously gatekeeps PulseChain and Hex, but it's not immediately obvious where they rank in the kind of the macro crypto space. But you can actually see Hex is number 18, and PulseChain is number 20 in the entire. So like these are top 20 cryptos in the entire crypto space, and you can see like passing near protocols, passing things like DAI. I know this token's been taken off Sui. I think Aptos is a little newer, but you can see still PLS has a higher ranking, right? So more market cap. It's passing Litecoin. Litecoin's extremely old. Um, yeah, it actually looks competitive. I have no idea what's gonna happen with the Pulse Chain, but you can like we're number 20 and we're depressed right now. Like the prices at least, right? So um like what's gonna happen if Pulse Chain has some sort of like raging bull market? And I know some of these other tokens will also move up as well. So I mean, you're gonna have like this is gonna be it's gonna be competitive, I think, and I think you're gonna see Pulse Chain slowly start to flip more and more of these different tokens and stuff. But to me right now, in general, kind of looks undervalued in my opinion, even against core tickers like Hex and EEX and even PLSX. Looks like it's been steadily going up against Pulse Chain for quite a while now. So I think Pulse Chain is undervalued. Not financial advice or anything, but whenever things do turn around, I wouldn't be surprised if PLS kind of takes the stage a little bit, just because people have been kind of ignoring it a little.
It's the gas. It's got the brand value. It's main pair for a lot of stuff. Major pair out there. A lot of liquidity. Be interesting to see. Quick one before we go. Do you think PulseChain will still be relevant in 10 to 15 years? I want to say this too. I talked about the new projects popping up here and there, .next, all that. What makes, let's say the answer is yes. What would make it stick around for a decade or more? Is it the DeFi Mecca promise? Is it, every cycle there's just like mad gains and stuff? Like, say we get that, and there's just like, okay, there's ups and downs, but this is a place to make money. It's known, PulseChain becomes known for the place to make money throughout the time. Is that like, what is the reason to you all to see the longevity for PulseChain?
No, I think that's it, Max. I think that is the place. We're truly decentralized, first of all, so we can't be turned off by a government or any one entity. That helps a lot, and so that makes us different than, say, other chains. But having a place with get really good quality DeFi products and services, that's going to be a game changer. We'll have automation very, very soon. Our Oracle's almost done with Signum, so we'll have more projects be able to launch here and finish their coding. So I think you'll see a lot more happening here in the next couple months as things get rolled out. These projects can finally be optimized. People can finish building and do what they want without having to work so hard to come up with price feeds and stuff like that. So I'm excited. I think the future is bright. In 10 or 15 years from now, as PulseChain's rolling, Richard said himself, hey, if it gets too expensive, we'll fork it again. It doesn't matter. Now, there'll be new technology out by then. There'll be more innovation. Maybe PulseChain, it's part of a bigger ecosystem. It's one of many things. Who knows? Maybe Richard comes up with another chain, and we have interoperability between the chains and start over. Who knows? The sky's the limit there. We just don't know what the future holds.
PulseChain 2.
Yeah.
Probably won't be called that. Yeah, that's an interesting thought, though. If anything, if there is a way that if we need upgrades, the way to think about it, I wouldn't say that PulseChain has to stay the way it is now. If there's a way to produce more mad gains, I imagine the master of mad gains may have his devs working on that. It wouldn't surprise me. Colin, what do you think?
In 10 or 15 years, I have no idea. I think it was probably still will have a community but I think one of the reasons why you might still have people hanging around in the Hex and PulseChain community, because I don't think who knows if it'll be like relevant as in like mainstream. I think it definitely could be. But I think if you're talking about like relevant within kind of the community itself, I think you'll still have the community there, especially when you have the people who have staked for quite a long time in Hex. I think they're going to have to be on PulseChain in 15 years to be ending their Hex stakes, right? So if that's what the people are going to be doing. So I think if a lot of people, they would have left already. Like if it was time to die, I think it would have already. Like if the community would have already been gone. Like we've kind of been through a lot. Like SEC, price going down, price going up, and then price going down even more. But I think long term, you're still gonna have Hex skins, right? Whether it's through that 5555 or one way or another, right? Maybe Sami posts another 3.59k videos, whatever it is. But yeah, I think you'll have Hex skins kind of roaming the earth still, at the very least. So that's kind of my take on that.
Okay. Speaking of Somi, it's been summoned. Welcome, Somi. Great to see everyone here. PulseChain's going great. And first, be realistic about things. It's a very vibrant community. It tells me 100 million for PLS is too low. And also, PulseChain should flip Cardano based on trading volume. We got 20x higher, sub all coins and communities. The guy talking 10 to 15 out, like XP is 11 years old, and they are fine. Shout out there, friend Somi. 3,900 or whatever the count is. More
very
videos.
Good points.
Hopefully, you get that island or whatever your dreams are, sir. You asset to the community. I know when I said my first thought when Colin was like 10 or 15 years, like just daydreaming island, just island, 10, 15 years island. Island sounds good. So yeah, the community, the Lord, Richard Hart, I think the amazing stuff to be around for sure. That being said, to wrap up, start with you, Neil, real quick, because we also had a comment in the chat. about the true DeFi. You can talk about that if you want for a second, just for people who don't know, but the projects. But yeah, what's top of mind for you as we say goodbye?
Sure. Yeah. True DeFi. I'm one of the founders, and we're working on a project to allow you to double your tokens without having to buy anything or pay any money. It's a project we're working on just to take your Richard tokens and put them in a contract through a bunch of DeFi protocols and DeFi magic. We can double your tokens. I have videos on it. It's on my YouTube channel. I'll talk about this. It's not a problem. But yeah, we're trying to revolutionize DeFi and using ways to make things better and fairer for everybody within the DeFi space. And I said earlier, Signum is almost done. They're working on 1 or 2 little things. It'll be out for public testing very shortly through Tetra. So just give us we're almost done with that. So we'll be able to have that out shortly as well.
Awesome. About you, CryptoCon, what's top of mind for you as we say so long to our Hexco for now?
Yeah, I think just wrapping up. I think it was a good stream. I think the glory days will be back. I've nothing much to list yet other than like I hope you guys test out and play around with some of the calculators and the downloadable data for PulseChain. And yeah, definitely like if you think I think it's community driven. So yeah, if you think of any good ideas and even if you want to implement them, like I think you could always kind of publish your own stuff as well. So kind of just speaking out loud a little bit, but yeah, I think that's all for me. So
awesome. Yeah, excellent stream. Appreciate you both. And yeah, that's all we got for today. Scivive and 5555. We are out.